On Sunday the 12th of September 2021, we closed our Heritage Weekend with a service where we dedicated the new ramp and facilities and relaunched the work of the chapel. Reverend Jackie Horton took the service and Reverend Julian Pursehouse, the chair of the East Anglia District, spoke. Many thanks to Pippa Cook for playing the organ and to all who were able to come along and join us. We were able to record part of the service up to the point where we went outside to dedicate the ramp itself. We apologise in advance for the suboptimal sound quality, as we were all active and busy in other roles during the service, and we recorded it automatically on a mobile phone. In particular, the wonderful singing doesn't come across as it did live. We felt, however, that despite this, it gave a lasting memory of a memorable time of fellowship together and was worth preserving.
Well, welcome everyone. Lovely to see you all. I know we're a mix of people, as it were. I know there's people here who regularly come at 4:30 on the second Sunday. We have other visitors from the Methodist circuit and from the village. And Cliff, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Cliff was the minister with oversight of this church up to last September. And me, and we particularly welcome Reverend Julian Pursehouse, who's in the front here, who's the chair of our East Anglia District. And you're always very supportive, aren't you, Julian, of the work here? And I'll please come back, Mum. Mustn't say that for you. Anyway, it's lovely to have you. Now, this is a special occasion, and I've written down 4 reasons why it's a special occasion. The first is we're at the end of the Heritage Weekend, when heritage buildings all over the country have been open. We've been open Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and we've liaised about the numbers. I think there's been about 90 people come through, of one sort or another, including people who did the sponsored bike ride yesterday. But it's certainly been worth being open. It's also a special time because we're dedicating the new ramp and the new little facilities that are in the extension, an accessible toilet and kitchen area. So we're doing that as part of the service. And the third reason it's special is because of various guests, as I've mentioned, the visitors. And the fourth reason is that those of us who form the team here, we feel as though it's a new start. After the lockdowns and everything, and with a change of personnel, and as you know, we're looking to get the building open more and promote it more in the village and in wider Methodism. So, in a way, today's a bit of a commissioning as well regarding all of that. So, it's a special service, and I thought we would start with the great Charles Wesley hymn. And Pippa, are you going to play Lingham too?
Lingham?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see what's going on up there?
No.
But you can hear it.
I can see it.
Okay.
And I can see you if I turn around, but I can't play the organ that way.
Thank you very much. So we're going to stand to sing, "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing, my great Redeemer's praise." Because I only became a minister last September, and because of the lockdowns, I haven't actually spoken here before. So I'm just trying this out, but it actually was a little out of the way. I thought I'd read a prayer by John Wesley for our opening prayer. I've got a little book here that belongs to my uncle. And this is 2 prayers for a Sunday evening. Let thy glorious name be duly honoured and loved by all the creatures which thou hast made. Let thy infinite goodness and greatness be ever adored by angels and men and women. May thy church be protected from all the powers of darkness. Vouchsafe to all who call themselves by thy name one short glimpse of thy goodness. Send forth thy blessed Spirit into the midst of our sinful nations and make us a holy people. Stir up the heart of our sovereign and of all whom thou hast set over us, that they may be happy instruments in thy hand of promoting this good work. And the second prayer, thou shepherd of Israel, vouchsafe to receive me this evening and ever into thy protection. Accept our poor services and pardon the sinfulness of these and all our holy duties. Let it be thy good pleasure to put a period to sin, to infirmity and death, and to hasten thy kingdom, that we, with all that wait for thy salvation, may eternally love and praise thee, O God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, throughout all ages, world without end. Amen. Lynn is going to read. I don't know where you're going to come.
Well, I'll stand here for a moment. That's okay.
Come past first, sorry.
Those of you who know the chapel for some time, which I can imagine is quite a few of you, remember Tommy and Sylvia. Really, they'd be delighted to see you all here this afternoon. They really would. And we remember them during this time. Back in their time, in fact before then, in the 1990s, they were talking about building a ramp. And the ramp project was on and off and on and off and on and off for many, many years, as I understand it. And eventually, some people who use the church chapel on a yearly basis wanted a ramp to push wheelchairs up. So a temporary wooden ramp was built, which over time disintegrated. And it decided that was the hell that's it. So plans at the time of Jane and Catherine Barger were put together to build a ramp. And that was going to go at the side of the steps at the front. And for a variety of reasons, many heritage reasons, which at the end of the day turned out to be a great thing, that was turned down by the heritage people for different reasons. And then Jane and Catherine Barger left. And I have to say, we owe a big debt of gratitude to Andrew King, who then took up the money of the project to start and got it off the ground. And he set to follow the Methodist consent forms and everything else. But following that, we managed to raise the money. The circuit has been generous, the district has been generous, but a variety of other people have been very generous as well. And so today, I'm really saying thank you to everybody that has contributed in any way to this. And certainly, we've had a plaque made which lists all the different organisations who have given us money and contributed to this today. So over the last few years, we've raised the money, and subsequent to that, it's COVID permitting, it's being built, and as you can see, the ramp fits in nicely at the side of a new kitchen area, a new toilet area. So we really, as Jackie was saying, it does feel like a new start. We do definitely remember, though, Tommy and Sylvia, all the work they put in over the years keeping this chapel actually going. And then we got to know them in 2013, 14, and it was sad to see all the health problems they subsequently had. But as their health declined, we sort of took over maintaining the chapel. And at the moment, we're very happy with how we managed to get the windows looking and also other parts of the chapel looking. So we hope that Tommy and Sylvia will be pleased that we managed to carry on with their legacy. So thank you for coming this afternoon. We really do appreciate it. And the plaque, we've got to decide on the place for the plaque. So anybody who's got any good suggestions, we're very welcome to hear.
Lynn, can I just
Yes.
interrupt before you
Yes, sure.
read that, because you've expressed the gratitude to Tommy and Sylvia, but if it wasn't for Lynn and Angela, I don't know where we would be now. They have kept it going, and you've been just so committed and doing all that work to get the band and everything done, and we're just so grateful to you, both of you.
That's a pleasure. Our reading is Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and of earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going, both now and forevermore.
Thank you. Our next hymn is an old hymn. It's in the Old Methodist hymn book, not the last, not the current one, not the one before. It's Another blessing that this chapel has had in recent years is to be part of a project in our circuit. It's called Replanting Rural, and it links the work here in Walsingham with the Methodist chapel and work in Blakely. And for the last 2 years and for the next 3 years, we're employing, with the help of both a district grant and a connectional grant, we're employing a lay pioneer, who we all know as Sam, but her official title is, what is your official title?
It's Pioneer Rural Church Replanter.
Yes, anyway, we'll call you Sam. And it's just great that Sam's working in both Brayton and Walsingham, and is part of the developments in both places. And Sam, you're going to read Julian's choice of reading. It goes from here. This reading is taken from the book of Genesis, chapter 28, verses 10 to 17. Jacob left Beersheba and went towards Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night, because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. And he dreamed that there was a ladder set up on the earth, the top of it reaching heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And the Lord stood behind him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I give to you and to your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth. And you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and your offspring. Know that I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. It's the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God.
Let us pray. Loving God, may the words of my lips and the thoughts in all our hearts be acceptable to you, Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Well, friends, it is a joy and a privilege to be here this afternoon at Walsingham Methodist Chapel, here in the central Norfolk Circuit, for this service of rededication and celebration as we mark the fulfilment of this piece of work and this project. It does seem to me to be the weekend of these kinds of things. I was in the Ely and Newmarket circuit yesterday for the rededication of the new building at Sower Methodist Chapel. And there was a great gathering of people who had come to mark that occasion. Well, here we are this afternoon in a different part of the district. So I want to offer you my congratulations. I want to thank you for your faith, for your persistence, for your ambition, for your hard work, and for your prayers. You are now the proud occupants of a changed building, that is accessible, attractive, and more fit for purpose for the times in which we live in, whilst retaining its history and its heritage, and all of the ways in which it speaks of our Methodist history. So I want to say, well done. As Chair of District, I am delighted for you and delighted for the wider community of Walsingham. Well, some years ago now, and I do mean some years ago, I remember waking up as a newly stationed probationer minister in the Long Eaton Circuit on the 1st of September 1995. After spending 3 years at Theological College, having been stationed in New Circuit, having been welcomed at a welcome service, I began life as a Methodist minister. And I distinctly remember waking up and thinking, what on earth do I do now? Well, I soon discovered that the demands of ministry soon became clear. Work came my way, and I began to develop the patterns of public and representative ministry. Well, I wonder, folks, whether there is something of that feeling when we complete these projects on our buildings. When the bills are paid and the snagging list is attended to and the dust settles and we sweep up, I wonder whether we think to ourselves, what is God calling us to be and do in this new space? Where do we go from here? Who does this enable us to be? What does this enable us to do? This is even more relevant for a church and a circuit that is in receipt of significant funding, connection funding for the project here at Walsingham and at Blakeney. Well, I want to remind you of that fabulous Old Testament narrative of the story of Jacob in the book of Genesis chapter 28. This strange, mystical narrative of Jacob's ladder stretching from earth to heaven. A vision, a dream, but one that has a profound effect upon Jacob and upon the future trajectory of his life. Earlier in the narrative, we discover something of the prehistory of Jacob. He is the deceiver who has cheated his brother Esau out of the family inheritance. And at this point in the narrative, he is a fugitive, fleeing for his life, estranged from his kith and kin, fearing for his life, cut off, estranged from the wider community of the covenant people of God. He is a deceiver, a loner, a fugitive, but he mystically experiences the grace and generosity of God. He encounters God's grace and presence. And through this encounter, he gains hope and a future. He gains promise and reassurance. And the loner is reconnected with the covenant God and the wider community of God's covenant people. He is drawn back into the promises of God. And the writer captures something of the wonder, the joy, and the surprise of Jacob. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. This is the very gate of heaven and the house of God. So let's pause for a moment and consider this. In the most unexpected place, at the most inhospitable time, to the least expectant person, God's presence is encountered. Jacob becomes the recipient of God's deep blessing and grace. The fugitive learner is drawn back into the heart of the covenant community with God and his people. Suddenly, hope, purpose, and promise become real possibilities once more. Well, at their best, our places of worship, the places where we gather to be with the people of God, the churches where we gather, they can be places of hope and promise, places of reassurance and affirmation, as people reconnect with the covenant God and the community of God's people. A place, perhaps, where some may feel moved to say, surely the Lord is in this place. This is the very gate of heaven. This is the house of God. As I understand it, and I hope I'm correct, the project here is about having a building that is fit for purpose, both for the people of God to worship when we worship, share in mission, and for the wider community to gather and celebrate our history and heritage in the midst of religious pilgrimage and religious visitation, which is so important to this context. So to return to my earlier question, what is God calling us to be and do in this new space? Well, the experience of Jacob at Haran, discovering this thin place between heaven and earth, becoming the recipient of God's grace and blessing, proved to be transformative for him and the covenant people of God. I hope and pray that being in this place changed, this house of God will prove to be both renewal and transformation for you as a community of people, and for those who come here and are drawn to it in visitation and pilgrimage. So I want to close with some words from a Fred Pratt Green hymn. And if you like, let this be a prayer and a blessing. They will be familiar words. The Church of Christ in every age, beset by change but spirit-led, must claim and test its heritage and keep on rising from the dead. I hope and pray that that will be your experience here as you travel together as the pilgrim people of God. Amen.
Well, we're singing a different being here. You wrote up these, and this one seems a progress as well. God is here as we, his people, meet to offer praise and pray.